Chapter 19. Inside the Windmill.
"Shabba me whiskers,"
muttered Mr. Gum.
"It's dark in here."
As if in response, the power crystals began to glow with their strange pink and white light, pulsing in and out like a disco for vampires. And in that eerie glow, Polly saw the windmill's machinery, full of cogs and wheels and the cruel sharp metal teeth that would slice and dice and splice whatever came their way. She shuddered to think of its awful power.
"Just a lying in wait till it starts up again," she thought. "Like a Godzilla what's only pretended to be dead, but when you poke it with a spoon it quickly springs up and munches your face off."
Beyond the machinery rose a flight of rotten wooden stairs, disappearing into the darkness above. And now, holding the crystals before them like a torch, the villains began to climb. Clop, clop, clop. Up those stairs they cloped in their hobnailed boots, and once more Polly had no choice but to follow, the rubbery intestine rope cutting into her wrists all the while.
"Forces of good,"
she prayed under her breath.
"It's Polly here. I hope you're well. Thanks for last weekend when I found that pound coin in the park. Anyway, listen, right? If I ever did need a miracle, it's now. So won't you send help?"
"Will this do?" whispered a voice from above, and Polly felt a small weight land on her right shoulder, almost causing her to cry out. But suddenly she realized it was her good friend Alan Taylor, the gingerbread headmaster with electric muscles.
"A.T., is it really you?"
she replied as softly as she could.
"Yes, Polly," he whispered. "Old Granny told me what was happening. I've been hiding in the rafters waiting for you to arrive. Now hold still."
And bravely little Alan Taylor nibbled through the rope of intestines that bound Polly, even though he had recently turned vegetarian for religious reasons.
"There," he whispered. "You're free."
"What's that whispering?"
cried Mr. Gum suddenly, spinning around fast as a toffee apple. But Alan Taylor was faster still, and quickly he hid in Polly's hair.
"Why, it's only the wind a-howling,"
explained Polly.
"Sometimes it sounds just like Alan Taylor. I've often noticed. But Alan Taylor himself is probably miles away teaching his pupils all about the natural world."
"Well, he'd better be,"
snapped Mr. Gum with a vicious gnash of his teeth.
"If I see that little tungler around here, I'll scoff him up once and for all."
By now the criminals had reached the small room at the very top of the windmill, and there it sat, the power crystal control panel that Nicholas the Twinklecakes had made out of floorboards all those years ago. On the top were two slots, exactly the right shape and size for the power crystals. But which crystal went in which slot? It didn't say.
"How does this blibbering thing work?"
snarled Mr. Gum in frustration.
"I ain't got time for no riddles from the past."
"Oi, knickknacks,"
yelled Billy, sticking his head out of the window into the dark night sky.
"Which way round them crystals go?"
"I can't remember,"
shrugged Nicholas.
"I have been dead for nearly 500 years, you know."
While the villains were distracted, Alan Taylor was busy fastening on a brand new pair of goggles for his traditional jump at the baddies bit. He loved jumping at the baddies, and who could blame him? He was absolutely superb at it. Yet even while he fastened his goggles, he was busy teaching Polly about the natural world he loved so much.
"Many animals make their home inside windmills," he explained. "For instance, that small white thing in the corner is known as a mouse, and that small grey thing next to it is known as some fluff. But now to business," he whispered. His goggles were ready at last. "Gingerbread, gingerbread, rah, rah, rah!"
And so saying, Alan Taylor launched himself from Polly's shoulders straight for his number one target.
"Taylor!"
roared Mr. Gum in pain as the fearless biscuit bit into his big wibbling nose. The villain's hands flew to his face, and the power crystals dropped from his clutches, falling to the floor with a hollow clinking sound. For a moment everyone just stood there as they took in what had happened. Then suddenly they all dived at once.
"Got one!"
cried Polly, grabbing hold of the white crystal as she skidded wildly over the smooth wooden floor.
"Got one!"
shouted Billy, slurping up the big crystal with his long grey tongue. In a smelly flash, Billy ran over to the control panel and dribbled the crystal into one of the slots. But was it the right slot? Clank, gruk, frinkle, brrp. Slowly the windmill's cruel, sharp machinery cranked up.
Good guess, butcher guy,
cried Nicholas to Twinkle Cakes' enormo face from the outside window.
Now put the other one in, small girl.
No way, you historical roodelally,
shot back Polly.
I'm not doing your dirty works.
Rawr!
Roared Nicholas.
Then face the mighty fury of my furious mighty face.
And once more he did lightning bolts out of his nose. It was horrible. Fizz, fizz, dodge. Polly leapt around the room dodging those bad zappers for her very life, but Nicholas had other tricks up his face. Suddenly he puffed out those colossal thundercloud cheeks of his and slurp. He spat a big jet of rain right at Polly, knocking the white crystal from her hand. Up towards the ceiling the crystal flew, spinning, end over end, and then all at once, down it plummeted, straight towards the empty slot in the control panel.
Yeah,
laughed the white crystal gleefully as it fell.
Time to fulfill my evil destiny at last.
No!
cried Alan Taylor, and with all his electric muscles whirring, he leapt desperately from Mr. Gum's nose towards the misbehaving crystal.
Biscuit punch!
He smashed it away with his gingerbread hand, and in that moment, Alan Taylor was the true king of heroes you've never seen or heard about on TV, for he had saved the whole of Lamonic Bibber from going up in flames. No two ways about it. It was his best jump ever. But was it also to be his last? The next moment, Alan Taylor was hurtling towards the slot himself, his juicy raisin eyes wide with fear.
Polly!
He gasped.
See that thing with 6 legs crawling on the wall? It is known as a beetle.
But his words were lost as he fell into the slot and was swallowed up in the grinding machinery below. All those cogs and wheels and cruel metal teeth. A spray of biscuit crumbs went up. His electric muscles whirred one last time. And that was the end of little Alan Taylor, a teacher of the natural world till his dying breath.